They tell you that Pico reefing is impossible. 6 gallons of water. Too small, too unstable, too unforgiving. You need to be an advanced hobbyist to be successful with a Pico aquarium. Are the naysayers right, or are they wrong? In my experience, they're definitely wrong. That is not to say that this tank did not have its setbacks and its learning experiences. Are the drawbacks of nanos or picos all that they're cracked up to be? Because looking at this tank now, you definitely wouldn't say it's impossible. It's very, very possible. Let's take you back to this tank's humble beginnings. It was a 4 gallon UNS cube and it was scratched beyond repair and it was very cramped for this poor damsel. This tank was initially a quarantine tank that I used to house some corals that were under observation, as well as incoming fish to my other system. And it was definitely time to upgrade this thing. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Hope everyone's doing well, and thank you for tuning into this little Pico tank video. Obviously, getting into this footage here, we are upgrading the tank to a Reef Casa Flat 6. Beautiful tank, by the way. Comes with some pretty nice supplies. I did upgrade it to that random flow generator with the dual nozzle. This tank was long overdue. The quarantine system was originally set up for a sick NEM that I was nursing back to life, as well as some incoming fish to another system. It's really cramped, even though it is a 4 gallon cube. Even though, yes, jumping to 4 to a 6 gallon isn't a huge upgrade, but the actual swimming space and just area to house corals is a lot bigger of a footprint, just because it's a shallow tank. I kind of have this obsession with shallow tanks at the moment, which was definitely an inspiration to get this tank. The equipment on this tank is pretty simple. I'm running a pretty cheap ATO, and how I'm maintaining the alkalinity in this tank is I am using calc in the auto top off, which unfortunately led to disaster. The classic Runaway ATO actually almost nuked this tank. I did wake. I don't have footage of it, but I woke up and the tank was absolutely looks like someone poured 2 milkshakes into the water. Um, Everything was closed up and obviously upset. I tried not to panic, but I did. I did an emergency water change and I waited a few hours. All this Xenia got completely nuked. And most of the inverts unfortunately passed away, and I did lose a fish. Um, it was that neon goby that was in the footage. Uh, Everything else survived, thankfully. I also did lose that PC rainbow there. Um, there was also an additional setback about a week after this incident happened. Uh, the return line to the tank with the ATO actually somehow slipped below the water surface and created a back siphon. And so 1 week later, from a massive alk and salinity swing, got corrected, and then literally a week later had a massive salinity drawdown due to the back siphon and basically salt water going down into my ATO reservoir and then pumping back up diluted back into the tank. So those two stress events, unfortunately, I did lose a couple corals. Some of the mushrooms really didn't like it. I believe I lost a few high-end zoas. The Pulsing Xenia got nuked the first time around. I did have a red Pulsing Xenia in the classic silver. Surprisingly, there is a small speck of that silver Pulsing Xenia that is coming back. As far as most of the coral, they did okay. A lot of things were closed up for like a week or two, and they were able to bounce back. Some other challenges I did have with this tank was issues keeping it warm. There was a 50-watt glass tube heater that I did upgrade to a ceramic, um, like enclosed heater, and that was also 50 watt, but it seemed to do the job a little bit better. As far as fish in this tank, there's a pair of clowns, and yes, they do have a name. That is Yin and Yang. Also, there is a pistol shrimp that you guys saw in the intro. Various cleanup crew. This tank is mainly dominated by acans and zoas and some mushrooms. There is two nems in this tank. There's the rainbow bubble tip, which is just my favorite. There's the black widow nem, but it is closed up. It still, unfortunately, is a little PO'd from that event, even though it's been about a month and a half since that salinity swing. Um, it did kind of have a delayed effect on that nem. It was really stressed out, and it's been recuperating. Love this reflection shot. Uh, some other challenges with this tank is mushrooms, stinging coral. Um, the hairy mushroom and that other coral has taken out a few of my acan heads, so I did have to move those around, and that is a challenge in a Pico aquarium because real estate is obviously very finite in this environment. Uh, I'm not sure if I'm going to upgrade this tank. I think I'll just keep this as my fun little Pico and kind of try to push the limits with it. It looks really good on the countertop. Um, it's just definitely one of my favorite tanks at the moment. There also is a new addition to this tank. There is a tail spotted Blenny. Great personality. He's very friendly compared to some of the other ones that I've had in the past, and he gets along very well with the clowns. The clowns are not that aggressive, honestly. When I put my hand in the tank, um, they don't actually try to get me like some other clowns I've had in the past. They're pretty chill, and they kind of just leave the Blenny alone. I did have him in a small acclimation box for a few days before I removed him to be free. Uh, as far as equipment goes in this tank, I am running a Mighty Jet, a Kessel 880, and a Inkbird Wi-Fi controller. The A80 Kessel Lite also has a spectral controller. Jumping into some parameters for the tank. This tank, like I mentioned before, has had some major stress events, and the parameters are nowhere near stable. Obviously, a Pico aquarium, one of the drawbacks is the volume of water is pretty low. To combat that, it is really easy to do water changes. Do I do them that often as I probably should? Probably not, but I have run into times where my nutrients were pretty low, especially my nitrate. This tank typically tends to mirror my 20-gallon system, where the phosphates are usually a lot higher, and the nitrates are lower. I do ammonia dosing in this Pico aquarium from time to time, and I do feed it quite heavily. I notice now that there's a little more, like there's some various NIMs in the tank. The tank does suck up a little bit more phosphate. I haven't been dealing with high phosphates lately. I will throw up the parameters on screen so just you guys can take a look. The ALK used to sit pretty high in this tank before the A cans really started taking off. I would say when they were around 1 to 2 heads each, like mini colony sized, they weren't consuming that much elk. Now the elk stays between about 7 and 8, where it used to sit around like 10, sometimes even 11. I don't have every single data point charted in this app because there was times where I didn't feel like watching an ad to input the data. If any of you guys are familiar with this aquarium app, you'll definitely know what I'm talking about. But just to wrap up the video, guys, I don't want to make it too long. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop a comment below, and I'll be trying to grind out some more content. I do have another project back here that I do want to get some videos out on this as well. Happy reefing, take care, and hope you guys had an amazing holiday season.